Good evening, my fellow Americans. My name is Allende, and I'm recording this video for my class, The Introduction to Public Administration, with Professor Velati. And I'll be discussing today on gun control, and I say my fellow Americans because this affects all citizens here in the United States. As I mentioned, I am talking about the gun control action. And I see this as the administrative model. Why? It assumes the decision makers operate with limited rationality. This means that decision makers are rational within a simplified model that contains fewer components, fewer decision making criteria, fewer options, and so on. It also has the decision maker which selects a satisfying alternative. This is an alternative that is good enough or satisfactory in what it meets the minimum criteria established for a desired solution. And as said before, to summarize a little bit, for the administrative model, there's really nothing of any alternative that we can find for this solution. We just need to implement it. And when I say to implement it, I mean that Congress needs to pass legislation that has gun control. To pinpoint the problem, gun control violence must be taken care of, or more mass shootings will continue to happen. To identify the causes going along with the decision-making model, we identify the causes. Many states don't have laws that prohibit its citizens from purchasing a gun. Congress has not passed legislation for gun control violence. Bipartisan agreement from both Democrats and Republican parties must be reached. Senator Murphy spoke today on behalf of the Orlando people on their shooting. And he explained that he will be advocating for gun control, meaning that he wants Congress to pass legislation on gun control violence. Many laws and regulations must be passed by both the federal, state, and local governments. As we know, the federal government will overrule all the states and local government regulations, in which it will be followed in all 50 states. To set objectives, the must and wants. We want people before they purchase a gun or license to pass a universal background check, pass mental evaluations of a duration of 3 years before purchasing a gun, and take an oath and swear that they will use the arms the safest way as possible. Going along with the format, we have formulating alternatives. As I mentioned before, for the administrative models, we really don't have any type of alternatives for this solution. For the solution, we just need to implement it. But in order for us to implement it, Congress must pass legislation. If Congress doesn't want to pass any legislation, then the president must do it by executive order, meaning that it is not a law, but it will be carried as a law. It'll give us a temporary relief on gun control violence. In the past, we have seen the Sandy Hook Elementary shooting, which it had over 25 victims. And in the 2012 Aurora shooting, which happened in the past, and rarely any attention was given to address the gun control violence by Congress. Ladies and gentlemen, Congress needs to do something about it as soon as possible. We cannot continue having this skyrocketed statistics Like 67% of homicides are done by firearms, which shootings won't happen constantly if Congress, with accordance with the states, passes legislation to restrict the Second Amendment, which is the right to bear arms. Yes, we do have that in our Bill of Rights, but we cannot continue having people victims on gun control violence, such as what happened in Orlando's shooting. Since no action has been taken by Congress, the issue remains pending, meaning that we have the Congress has really more things to worry about, like the economy, immigration, and they really don't look at the gun control violence that it's happening here in our mainland, the United States. As we know, our preamble states that we must ensure domestic tranquility to our citizens, meaning that we must be in a place where it's safe, where we can do anything that we want without having the fear to go outside and being shot by other people that are mentally ill. Law enforcement should not or will not be, it will not, it will be exempt from doing the citizen's requirement before purchasing a gun. Why? Because they have to pass specific requirements in order to enter the police department or any military, etc., to carry guns. I evaluated the alternatives. No alternatives are possible. Just implementing gun control violence must be addressed before it affects our citizens. Many innocent people are being killed by these mentally sick people. Ladies and gentlemen, the gun violence is done by people that are very mentally ill. And we are really not looking at and helping these people be better, come back into society. I don't know. They should be left in the mental institutions. I don't know what to tell you. And the best one, which is the step 6, is passing legislative action that requires people or citizens to pass a universal background checks as stated before, a mental evaluation for a period of 3 years, and take an oath that makes citizens acknowledge the use of guns safely, in a safe manner. We also have potential consequences, which will have a safer country. And when I mean consequences, I mean positive outcomes. Decrease mass shootings, which we just had one this past week in Orlando. And citizens will have restrictions by carrying out a gun. A gun is not for everyone. I don't know why people are purchasing it. And yes, it is a constitutional right stated in the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms. But we need to make it more restrictive and regulated in order for people to purchase guns. There's been a lot of cases in the past, as stated before, the Sandy Hook, the 2012 Aurora shooting, and I don't know what to tell you. I just want Congress to pass legislation, and if you don't want to do it and reach an agreement, the president can do it. The Constitution grants the president to pass executive orders, which an executive order is not a law, as I said before, but it is carried as a law. My condolences to the Orlando people, which lost their loved ones, and peace for the world.